Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to Olainfarm First Quarter 2019 Investor Conference webinar. Today we are hosted by the Chairman of the Management Board of Olainfarm, Mr. Lauris Macijevskis, the Member of the Supervisory Board, Mr. Krastins, and Investor Relations Advisor, Mr. Janis Dubrovskis. We will start with the webinar with company's presentation, after which we will hold a questions and answers session. To ask your question to Olainfarm, please use the question box in the webinar admin panel. I would now like to turn the conference over to the gentleman who will proceed with the presentation.
Dear stakeholders, it is a pleasure to continue our tradition to hold quarterly webinars to provide comments on financial performance as well as other important events. Today we would like to divide our presentation in three parts. First, we'll go through our main financial indicators. Second, we'll provide our view on some important events that took place right after the end of the first quarter. And thirdly, we will try to answer your questions that you sent in. So let's begin. So consolidated revenues in the first quarter continued to increase year on year and reached 34.7 million euros, which is 13% higher than in the first quarter last year. As you can see in the graph, sales were quite similar to the fourth quarter 2018. Our main subsidiaries, Latvijas Aptieka pharmacy chain, Silvanols and Tonus Elast, provided positive contribution to sales increase. Okay. So now let's jump to the bottom line. 8.3 million euros is a new all-time record quarterly profit. Several factors allowed us to reach such results. While our revenues increased by 13% year on year, cost of goods sold increased by only 6%, which means that gross profit margin rose by 3 percentage points to 61%. Selling expenses declined by 4%, administrative expenses rose less than revenue increase. We spent less on marketing in certain countries and currently we're evaluating results of such actions. We experienced also a very favorable boost from Russian ruble appreciation from about 78 rubles per euro at the beginning of the year to approximately 72 rubles per euro at the end of the quarter. As you might already know, Olainfarm historically has not hedged forex risks. Such approach earned us 1.5 million euros in the first quarter 2019 versus losses a year ago. Evaluating the achievement level of net profit, the management decided to revise earnings guidance upwards from 10 to 12.7 million euros on consolidated basis without revising sales target of 1.33 million euros. One of the questions we have received relates to the net profit for the rest of the year. I think we can cover that topic right now. We remain cautious, first of all, because Russian ruble exchange rate may reverse its earlier gains. Second, product mix may have a lower profit margin. And third, we might need to increase marketing expenses if it is necessary to support sales. Another widely used measure is EBITDA, or earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. Starting from the first quarter this year, we will calculate it differently. There are two reasons for that. First, starting from January this year, a new IFRS standard will change how all the companies report leased assets. In our case, we use third-party premises for pharmacies. We will recognize our rights to use these assets on the balance sheet and in liabilities. At the same time, on the income, expenses are shifted from operational to depreciation. Second, we decided to include any gains or losses on forex in operational expenses rather than financial, which would better reflect our current business model. Overall, these changes mean that the new EBITDA should not be compared with the historical one. In the provided chart, you can see past 5 quarters of EBITDA and EBITDA margin using new methodology. So now it is time for our first poll question. Would like to ask you to vote whether first quarter results were better than expected, as expected, or worse than expected. Yes, thank you very much for time to vote. So I see that most of you view the results as exceeding expectations. Okay, so that means that the management will have to work very hard to continue perform as well in the future. So let's continue. We would like to briefly comment on breakdown of sales by countries and products. First, let's start with our markets. Sales in Latvia, Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine comprise 78% during the first quarter of this year. Within the top 4 markets, Latvia's and Russia's share has slightly declined, but Belarus' share continued to increase. Among other markets, the Netherlands returned to the top 10 countries due to supply of anti-tuberculosis drug past sodium salt to the WHO. In terms of absolute figures, revenues increased by largest amount in Latvia, Belarus, and the Netherlands. There was some decline in Lithuania, Kazakhstan, and Germany. Product-wise, no significant changes occurred except for already mentioned renewed supply of PAS to the WHO. Norfen, Furomag, and Neromidin remain top 3 products with total share of 49%. In absolute terms, PAS, Adaptol, and Norfen contributed the most to the increase in revenues in the first quarter 2019. There was no decline among products. With this, we'll finish our discussion regarding financial performance. Now let's start the second part of the webinar, where we would like to share our view on event that took place on the 1st of April. As announced before, the EGM took place with several items on the agenda. First, election of the Supervisory Council, setting remuneration of the Supervisory Council, and election of Auditing Committee. 5 members were elected for a period of 5 years to the Supervisory Council. The new members are Gunārs Bērziņš, Janis Dubrovskis, Karlis Krastins, Haralds Velmers, and Andrejs Saveļevs. Chairman of the Supervisory Council is Professor Gunārs Bērziņš, who is an expert in business management. He's currently is the Dean of the Business Management Economic Faculty of the University of Latvia, and also member of the board of Stockholm School of Economics in Riga. Now I give word to Karlis Krastins, member of Supervisory Board, to cover the topic of near-term tasks of Supervisory Council.
Yeah, hello to everybody. Yeah, my name is Karlis Krastins. My main business and activities are related to managing investment bank Prudentia. We will celebrate 20 years in June, and we have, of course, served a lot of big companies in the Baltics. And I was asked by some of shareholders of Olainfarm to join to the team to help to supervise and help to stabilize the situation in the company, which more or less is related to the heritage process of Mr. Maligins. Yes, and I'm currently 2 months in the company, and I will comment a little bit about the main tasks in near term that we have set for ourselves. First is maybe the most important and the most challenging is to develop a new strategy. Of course, we are in the beginning of the process and still working with the management team in this direction. But at this moment, I am able to formulate it very simple. It is to find new markets for our existing products and to continue work with new products. The company has already some good work done for several big markets in Europe and here in Far East, and we'll see what will be the concrete steps, and maybe the CEO Lauris can more comment on that as well. The company some years is working for one new good medicine. The company has spent already some money, significant money in R&D and then capex. And then as well, CEO can comment on that. But of course, that's our just beginning, and we will continue to work. And maybe in next webinars, we will be able to tell more about our progress with new strategy. Corporate governance, a very important topic. Of course, very important for every shareholder, especially for institutional and financial investors. On one hand, the company has a long history to be listed on stock exchange and has a good system in place, is well known for the market and so on. But on the other hand, the company was long time controlled by one main manager of the company, Mr. Maligin. And as you can expect, in this very maybe vertical controlled company, as company was in hands of Mr. Maligin, the corporate governance system is as it is for this kind of one-man controlled companies. So we see a lot of opportunities and good things that we can improve there. We are working with management board together for some 2-3 new policies regarding the company's business. We are regulating the responsibility split in the management board. We have hired professional advisors. I mean, the company has hired professional advisors from executive research market that help a company in this process. And there is a lot of work that we see we can add and improve in the company. As well, you know, the company was quite active in last 5-6 years in M&A. Company has acquired several companies in Latvia and not only in Latvia. And of course, there is a lot of good things that we can see, but of course, we see more opportunities in synergies and cooperation activities between mother company and daughter companies. So we will continue to work in that direction, and we think that let's say in some nearest future, 1-2 years, there are possibilities to get additional say positive results from that. Of course, as well, review all those assets in the company and then decide about, let's say, the best model how to work with this group in the future. Yes, and the financial model, if you look to the balance sheet of the company's balance sheet is strong. Mainly, company is financing its business activities from the equity and retained earnings. Of course, company is using some kind of senior debt from banks, but this level of debt is relatively low, below 1 EBITDA. On the other hand, of course, the company has some challenging capex structure and capex plans, and of course, this is pharmaceutical company and should be investing in R&D and new products and follow the market trends. Therefore, we think that during this year we will come to some maybe let's say optimized financial model where we are analyzing possibilities to use another type of financing instruments, for example, probably bonds, probably factoring, and other type of instruments. So in general, we had discussions with some of our existing shareholders, institutional shareholders, regarding some of those ideas, and in general received some positive response. But we are just in the beginning, and it will be maybe premature to talk more concrete. But I hope in the nearest future we will inform you, of course, about those ideas more precise. That's, I think, in general from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, all right, let's continue the webinar with the remuneration of the council. So the current package of for the council members consists of three parts. The first is fixed part, which has remained the same as for the previous supervisory council. What is added is that the bonus package that is paid only if certain targets are met. And second part is a compensation in case of early recall before the end of the 5-year term that is currently for the council. Also, on the EGM on the 1st of April, auditing committee was elected. Viesturs Gurtlavs is our long-term member of auditing committee who was re-elected. Karlis Krastins as member of supervisory council was elected, and also one of our minority shareholders, Agris Auca. Remuneration for the auditing committee has not changed, so it's all the costs for the company for 14.3 thousand euros per month. So also during the first week of April, Supervisory Council reviewed the actions of some of the management board members and had to make some changes to the management board. So current management board has chairman, first of all, it's Mr. Lauris Macijevskis. Then Mārtiņš Tambaks, Veronika Dubitskaya, Raimonds Terentievs, Milana Bileviča, Mārtiņš Pūriņš, and Signe Baldere Silbedze. Now I would like to give word to Chairman of the Management Board, Mr. Lauris Macijevskis.
Hello everybody, my name is Lauris Macijevskis. I'm currently the chairman of the management board of Olainfarm, and as you see, mostly my experience are related with financial industry. Nevertheless, during those 16 years of my experience, I have primarily worked with corporate banking and corporate lending in particular. And also, if I'm looking on my experience regarding the production industry, I was directly involved into the financing of the largest investment projects here on Baltics. Yes, I also have ended my career in financial industry as chairman of the management board of DNB Leasings, and also as vice president and member of the management board of DNB Bank. And I have a respective experience, and I'm holding the master's degree in Riga International School of Economics and Business Administration.
Now we would like to turn your attention to the upcoming events. In May, the management board decided to call the annual general meeting on the 17th of June. So the agenda has several items. So first of all, the reports of management board, council, and auditing committee. Approval of consolidated parent company's annual reports for year 2018, distribution of profit of 2018, and a report of the management board about the budget and operational plan for 2019. Also, additional item was proposed by one of the shareholders, JSC Olainfarm, to change articles of association and add an item that shareholder meetings had the right to make a decision if more than 50% of the paid and voting share capital is represented at the meeting. Yes, one of the most common questions that we receive is related to the dividends. Management board proposes to AGM to approve dividend payout of around 1.4 million euros or 10 cents per share payment, which is the same as was already announced during at the beginning of the year. And we have a poll question that to answer. Okay, thank you for voting. We see that in this case, most of you do not plan to attend AGM. So let's continue. Then we also have EGM on the 21st of June. This was requested by also one of the shareholders, Olfim, and there are currently only two items on the agenda. One is to recall the council and elect the new council, and recall committee and to elect the new auditing committee. So there are two general meetings. Then one is on Monday, that's AGM, and EGM is on the same week on Friday. So therefore, let's have our last poll here. Right, thank you very much for voting. We see that 80% of you do not plan to participate, and do plan to visit us. Okay, so now we end our webinar presentation. We have a Q&A session. I believe some of the questions that you have sent in are already partially answered. So therefore would like to
Gentlemen, thank you for the presentation. Should we now proceed with the questions and answers session?
Yes, please.
Wonderful. So we have received some questions in advance. Let's proceed with those first. The first question in line. What are your future plans in regards to Olainfarm daughter company, Sia Silvanovs? Are you planning to develop the business or sell the company? If develop, could you please share more information on the future development perspectives?
Lauris Macijevskis here. I will try to answer to this respective question. So as already Karlis mentioned, we are in the process of evaluating our made investments in our daughter companies. We have seen that actually the market appreciated the news regarding the sales of new companies. However, afterwards there were a rapid decrease of expectations regarding the daughter companies, and that is exactly the direction we are currently looking on. We would like to see the exact position of those daughter companies within the value chain of Olainfarm Holding, and also we would like to see improved results on the return on these respective investments. Currently, we have not made any decisions regarding particular sales. So what we are currently doing, we are evaluating each of those companies in order to understand how they are fulfilling overall target of the holding. And basically what we would like to see that those daughter companies are basically adding additional value to the holding.
Thank you. It's a positive sign that you are trying to improve a relationship and public image in the eyes of minority shareholders. Don't you think that it would be more efficient if Olainfarm management and supervisory board would include pharmacy industry professionals with adequate remuneration? Currently, from a side, it seems that management and supervisory board consist of people with doubtful reputation working in absolutely different professional environments, not connected with pharmacy and/or management of big companies. However, their remuneration is inadequately high.
Yeah, then maybe I will try to answer the questions. Here is Karlis, member of supervisory board. Of course, it's up to shareholders and other stakeholders to judge and to evaluate the quality of work of supervisory board and management board, and I will not evaluate the work of supervisory board because I'm part of that. I hope that during those 2 months we have done good things, and those things finally will give a benefit to all stakeholders and shareholders primarily. Our policy, of course, is to have some stable and good return on equity for the company. Of course, to keep investing capex and to let's say to find and to see place of Olainfarm, let's say in broader region in a more longer perspective. So we plan and we would like to see Olainfarm's place in the European pharmaceutical market as a strong and long-term oriented player. To keep a good dividend policy, for example, till now the company formally has not approved dividend policy. We are working in that direction as well. And yes, the stock price finally is maybe one of the key elements to evaluate, to see, and I hope that in our next discussion we will see continue to see those positive movements on the market with our stock price. Yeah, so that's in general what I can comment to that.
Thank you. During the past couple of years, the capitalization of Olainfarm has decreased remarkably. What would be the message to investors today, how to turn around the current trend line? Not to mention the fact that council and management boards should have very attractive motivation packages to earn more value for shareholders.
Lauris Macijevskis here. I will try to answer this particular question, and I already have touched this topic regarding our daughter companies. Into my opinion, this is the one of the directions we need to work on to improve return on our investments regarding those respective ones. However, nevertheless, what we are currently looking on is exactly our activities focused on our main sales markets, and specifically those R&D investments which are planning in closest time. So those R&D investments we are planning, of course, to utilize in a way that we are not only safeguarding our existing positions in specific markets, but that those are also improving our position in other markets. So basically how we are seeing that this trend might be turned basically vice versa, that our revenues are continuing to increase. We are not losing any parts of our existing business and improving those parts which we are seeing needs to be improved. And as you are seeing from financial results, basically this is already happening.
Thank you. There was a considerable decrease in selling expenses and other operating expenses as percent of revenue in Q1. What are the reasons, and can this level of profitability be maintained in the future, or was this more of a one-off drop?
Here's Janis Dubrovskis. I think I a bit already touched this point. So the marketing expenses during the first quarter this year were a bit lower than usually, or than before. This was kind of experiment for ourselves to see how markets will react to less marketing pressure, and so at the moment we see it more as a one-off drop. As already mentioned, we might increase the marketing expenses if it is required to support future sales.
Thank you. Next question. The group has adjusted the plan for 2019 by increasing net profit target from 10 million euro to 12.7 million euro, meaning that 4.4 million euro is expected in the rest of 2019. Why such modest expectations for the 3 remaining quarters? Are impairments likely looking forward?
Yes, pretty much. We have already covered this topic during net profit slide. So first of all, we remain to Russian ruble fluctuations. Second is a product mix that in the future might have lower margins. And third, as already mentioned, increase of marketing expenses might also be on the table during next quarters. With regards to the impairments, currently we do not see anything specific in the coming quarters.
Thank you. During the previous quarterly results webinar, Olainfarm representatives gave a brief overview of the draft dividend policy, which was in the making at that time. According to it, 15% under 10 million euro net profit would be paid out and 50% from everything exceeding this amount. Would it be reasonable for investors to expect something along these lines in the future? What are the new management's plans in terms of dividend policy? You partly covered this topic during the presentation, but there's perhaps something you would like to add.
Yes, here Karlis Krastins again. Yes, I think it sounds reasonable. As I said, we would like to fix and to approve long-term dividend policy. I think amounts between 10 and 20% from the net profit would be reasonable. Of course, we have to combine it with the capex needs. As you know, the pharmaceutical industry is a capital and R&D and capex extensive industry, and we have for this year budgeted plan to increase the capex more than 50% to the last year capex levels. Mainly, it's related to the so-called Pharma 2020 program, but as well other important elements. But I think yes, that would be in general in line with our plans, and I hope that in next discussion, as I said, we will have approved dividend policy in place, which will give the clear, let's say, picture and future estimations to all investors.
Thank you. Are related party transactions expected to remain flat, increase, or perhaps decrease in the future?
Lauris Macijevskis is here. I will try to answer this question. And as I understand from the question related parties, I understand those transactions which appeared previously with the one of the shareholders or the other shareholder. Currently, we are seeing that this is not an ordinary business case for our company. And so our opinion is that we would like to try to avoid such kind of transactions at all.
Thank you. What factors caused decrease of sales expenses? Do you expect it to stay at the same levels in the upcoming quarters?
Here's Janis Dubrovskis. Yes, I think we have already covered this topic.
Thank you. Are you planning to continue previous dividend policy, 15% payout ratio up to 10 million euro net profit and 50 payout for net profit part about 10 million euro? I believe we covered this as well. So let's proceed with the next question. Could you please explain the remuneration size principles for the council and the board? Now the remuneration exceeds total dividends of the company.
Yes, Karlis Krastins again. I will disagree with this statement that the remuneration level of the management in general exceeds the dividend policy. That's not true. Last year, the company paid out 3 million euros dividends. For this year, as you know, the plan is to pay 1.4 million. At this moment, as I said, with the help of advisor, we are evaluating the management board responsibilities, and then we are working on new structure on the management board. Till now, let's say the compensation of the management board was split in two parts. The biggest part of the management board members was paid for their activities as department bosses, and in the management board they received additional part, but this additional part was relatively low if compared to the department to the wage system in the departments. So therefore we are currently working on, let's say, new structure, and of course this structure should be reasonable, professional on market terms. A little bit commenting on supervisory board management, supervisory board compensation levels. Actually, it's of course is in hands of shareholders. shareholders on shareholder meeting on 1st of April actually voted for the same fixed level as it was voted for last year. It's not changed. Yes, it's just added some, let's say, bonus elements and some security elements for the supervisory board member, and the reason is this corporate conflict, which is between some of the largest shareholders going on in the company. Therefore, I think it's reasonable that the people who are coming to, let's say, some corporate conflict usually are asking for some additional security. If this situation, as we hope, will stabilize, then of course I think we will work on more like for the stable situation solutions. And of course, company is listed long time on the stock exchange, and the best model would be to use employee stock options or stocks that all, let's say, key employees in the company, in the management board, in supervisory board, and other key people are interested in the company's value, in the company's capitalization. And this is the bonus system that we are working on.
Thank you. There is still one question to be answered. When loan from SEB expires, what is the size of this loan and what are the chances to prolong it?
Lauris Macijevskis here. I will answer to this particular question. SEB has prolonged their loan facilities for the next 6 months, and now we are talking regarding the time period from July till September this year. Nevertheless, of course, we are working quite closely with our main creditors on the potential prolongations of those facilities. And into my opinion, the good results of the business, or the underlying business results of the company, actually are supporting our opinion that those loans can be prolonged. Nevertheless, we already have touched the opinion that we need to expand our ability to borrow into the capital markets, and as well as to utilize our balance sheet structure in order to make it more robust, not only relying on some of the creditors we are currently having. So that's the answer.
Thank you. We have managed to answer all the questions that were received. As always, the recording of the webinar will be available on Nasdaq Baltic YouTube channel and also published as a separate company announcement. Gentlemen, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the answers given. Participants, thank you for joining. But before I'm finalizing, we have received one more question. So let's try to answer that one. What amount you are planning to borrow in the capital markets?
Karlis, Krastins here. So of course we will not tell this now. As I said, the company is relatively low leveraged, so below 1 EBITDA level and less than around 20% from the equity. So the market will tell us. Of course, we know the capex program for this year and for next year, more or less. We're working on that. But let's see. So what will be the suggestions of investment banks with whom we are advising, and what will be the market appetite? Yeah. So.
Thank you. Once again, thank you for the webinar. Participants, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.